Thank you for joining Bowtech Live and the Nate Zelinsky podcast. This is all about education, scouting, building patterns, and being successful on public land in a do-it-yourself style hunt. A huge thanks to all of our partners, including Bowtech Archery, Diamond Archery, Excalibur Crossbows, Vortex Optics, Ford Trucks, Slumberjack, Bass Pro Shops of Denver, Mr. Heater, Turkey Creek Studios, Ripcord Rest, Tight Spot Quivers, and Black Gold Sights. Join us every Monday night live at 7 p.m. Pacific on the Bowtech Archery or Nate Zelinsky Facebook pages, bowtecharchery.com, and or the Nate Zelinsky YouTube channel. And remember, tag and share this live feed with your friends and bring your big game questions. And here's your host, Nate Zelinsky. Hey guys, Nate Zelinsky. You have been joining me for literally 3 months now on the Bowtech live feed. I cannot thank you enough for joining me in all this. Now, right now, this is the first time that we've ever recorded something and played it. Everything has been 100% live. Unfortunately, I do not have that great a service. I am actually just coming off the mountain. I mean, literally, the elk are like 7 miles that way, 5 miles that way. You can actually hear the highway. We're just about to our vehicle. I came down here, I'm beat, wanted to catch my breath. Actually wanted to pull away from the elk before our wind started changing, before I'm talking and doing this live feed. But again, we're bringing this to you recorded from a live hunt. Again, I was out there chasing these elk this morning, just again, miles and miles behind us here. But wind started getting weird, so we pulled out and shooting this feed now. I'm in Colorado. I've been having a lot of great success. The muzzleloader season, which ended yesterday, was awesome. I went out with some buddies, put down some great animals, but for the most part, I've been doing a lot of archery hunting. You've been following us through that. We've had 2 major hunts going on. We've had the director of digital strategies here at Bowtech, Tim Glom, hoping to have his first archery success in a bull elk. We've also had my wife, Mandy, on an archery hunt here. So those are the 2 hunts we've been on. Every week we start the show bringing you basically the content we've had this week. So to start off, we're going to talk about the hunt with Tim. Literally, I'm not kidding you, I think we might have picked the hardest bull in the world to pick. We've been chasing this big bull we named Ricky. It's almost been exactly 7 days since we've had that opportunity on Ricky. So we were going almost a week now of chasing Ricky with no sightings. We had Ricky at 90 yards last Monday. Just literally needed him to step around the herd one more time. We did a very slight cow call and actually boogered him up, and he took off, and we have yet to find him again. I'm not kidding you. This bull, I've never seen anything like it. I've been on a lot of big bulls, chased and put down a lot of big animals. I've never seen a bull that is so kind of, I don't want to say scared, but he thinks everything through. He'll break a pattern, and he'll break a pattern for a week before he returns back to that pattern. So far, he's always returned to the pattern, but he has no problem abandoning that pattern for many days. He is also really tight with his cows. He keeps his cows in a very tight bunch. He keeps that harem really close, and if the sight or any feelings of something weird happening, he abandons. To where most bulls will come investigate, or most animals will kind of have some remorse to check things out. This bull, he feels something's wrong. I mean, wind's perfect, no sightings, nothing. I mean, he just gets a weird kind of, feeling. He takes his cows and he boogies and he disappears, and he hangs in that dark timber for again, days on end before he comes back out. So in this process, Tim and I have been literally scouring everywhere waiting for this bull to reappear. He's been working about a 5-mile square, basically around a mountain. He's just been working a 5-mile radius. So we've been hunting that. In the process of that, we've been passing up a lot of bulls. Actually, Saturday, we got our first very close encounter on that big lopsided bull that you guys seen early in the year called Larry. We had Larry into shootable distance. He actually has a lot of great satellites with him. We had a lot of 5x5, 6x6s with Larry, a big harem. Actually called that bull right in. We'll show you some footage of that. But while calling that bull in, Tim decided, hey, it's time to pass. I mean, that bull came in there. I looked at Tim. I'm sitting behind him working the calls, and I said, what do you want to do? And he goes, man, Larry's awesome, but he's not Ricky. So I want to show you some of that footage right now. So we're going to cut right now and show you that footage from just a couple days ago on Saturday. All right, guys, what do you think of that? I mean, you saw the bull, he's screaming, and it's actually pretty cool. Larry's got a very distinct screaming bugle, but also in that herd, we have another bull that sounds like a wind chime. So that bull is really distinct. Actually, that wind chime bugle, that satellite bull, is actually trouble for that whole harem because he's so distinct, you know exactly which harem is which. So you can go out there early in the morning, do some cow calls, you know, from a mile away, you can hear this wind chime bull scream, which is one of his satellites. So you know exactly where they are. Now, to be totally honest with you, we're actually looking at the footage right now, trying to determine if this is truly Larry or if this is Linny, one generation down. We can kind of go back and forth. We're actually going to go in and actually go on the bull again to get some actually still photos from above this bull, just to make sure that we know if we're on Larry or Linny, one generation down. But regardless, we passed him up. We know that when Larry comes in, we're going to pass him up as well. Tim has 100% dedicated everything to Ricky, which might be my nightmare. Ricky is, again, I've never seen a bull like this. We've been watching this big Ricky bull since June. I know everything about him, and I'll tell you what, of all bulls to pick and dedicate our life to, he's a tough one. It's been fun, though. You know, we talk about that. We talk about whether it's trophy hunting or just an opportunity. There's no doubt Ricky is an absolute tank. He's a gigantic bull. He'll be one of the biggest bulls I've ever seen put down. With that said, everybody's like, man, why does it matter about the horns? It's not so much about the fact that we want to kill the biggest bull out there. It's more the fact that we love this. We love the stress that's right now. We love the challenge. I mean, the fact of finding an animal and 4 months later on public ground where you have other hunters, muzzleloaders, archery hunters, grouse hunters, and we have the opportunity of hikers. I mean, everything's happening that changes it up. We're not on a private ranch like a lot of these big giant bulls come from. I mean, we're public land, you know, do-it-yourself type hunt. And there's just something special about picking that bull and following it through and chasing him, successful or unsuccessful. The challenge of trying to outwit a bull that's just a magnificent creature. So that's where we're at with that. So we are still in pursuit. Now, the entire reason we are videoing this right now and playing it to you instead of being in studio live is we're on the last week. We're here in Colorado. We have literally 7 days left. So if you count tonight's hunt, I think we have 13 hunts available to chase Ricky as well as chase a big bull for my wife, Mandy. So with that said, opportunity and time is at stake. So we're actually videoing this so I can be in the woods tonight chasing these big bulls. So hopefully you don't mind that. We're still going to bring you all that content. But again, we are in full-blown chasing in pursuit of Ricky. The muzzleloaders ended yesterday, which was Sunday, so it's going to take a lot of people out of the woods. We're hoping everything kind of stays calm. Hopefully Ricky comes back out to his normal pattern. And we have all that little bit of information. We know his patterns. We know how he acts. We know everything about him. The last piece of information that we really needed, we gained last Monday. We always wondered if Ricky was going to be a bull that we could talk to. Some of these big bulls are so aggressive, like this big, you know, lopsided Larry. You call to him and he comes running into the call. You calf call, cow call, get excited. He's all over coming to the call. Ricky, we did the slightest little cow-calf call to see if he would just come to the outside of that harem so we could take a shot, and he wanted nothing to do with it. So we know now that Ricky's going to be one of those bulls that we literally have to ambush, hunt on water, get in front of him as he's walking by, or literally just walk up to the harem as he's you know, verbally communicating to his cows and sneak up and make that shot. So I think we have the last information that we needed on Ricky. Now we just need another opportunity to apply all that information to be successful. Now we're going to flip stories and talk about my wife's hunt. My wife is a fairly new archery hunter. Last year she got a bow literally halfway through the season. We got out for 2-3 days, got on a lot of big bulls. She actually passed up a couple 300-inch bulls looking for a monster that was in the area. So she was not successful last year. It was her first year as an archery hunter. She is a very successful rifle hunter. I mean, sheep, goats, elk, deer, everything, you name it. She's got, you know, on her wall in her trophy room. I'm brand new to archery hunting. With archery equipment, you know, she's a real tiny gal. She's really looking for a close shot. She has never taken a bad shot in her life, and she is all about that conservation. So with that, we're looking at a 30-yard shot or closer on some of these big bulls. With that being said, we chose to sit in a tree stand. So we've been tree stand hunting. We've had 4 sets in a tree stand, so 4 hunts. You know, basically, you know, over the course of a week, we've only been out 4 times in the stand. With that being said, we had a big bull that came just by us ahead of us. Didn't quite quite present the shot. Had another bull come below us, just out of range, didn't quite do that. We've adjusted the stand since then, and then we've also had 2 hunts where we've had wind on one hunt, horrible wind, to where we didn't really have success that way. And the other hunt, we had good wind, and we actually had a grouse hunter with some upland dogs come through and actually push the animals away. So we've had some rough goes with my wife in that tree stand, but we'll be on that hunt this week as well as with Tim, chasing these animals and hopefully being successful. So that's the wrap up of what I've been doing this last week. It's been awesome. Been on a lot of animals, passed up a ton of animals, just waiting for the right animals. My wife's looking for, again, a good mature animal for her first archery kill, and then Tim is looking for Ricky, and I think it's going to be Ricky only. So we know what we're dealing with there. So that's where we've been. Now, we get a lot of questions. People, private message me on Facebook. You comment on these feeds. We get a lot of questions. We want to answer some of these questions now that we might have missed over the last couple weeks. The first topic we want to talk about is muzzle loading. This last 9 days here in Colorado, and whether you're in Utah, Wyoming, there's been a muzzleloader season going on for the most part, or you're in it right now. With that being said, a lot of success comes with the muzzleloaders. I hear and see so many pictures. I mean, I had overwhelming pictures. People I've never even seen before. I've never met them saying, hey, thanks for the tips. Put this bull on the ground. Check out this bull. Literally, I was overwhelmed yesterday as everybody's wrapping up those muzzleloader hunts with the success that they have. And I wanted to talk about that because so many people look at the muzzleloader success and they think of it as the premium season, when in reality, the archery tag presents the same opportunities, but a longer span to hunt these animals. But I want to talk about what you, the archery hunter, can do to take that same success in the muzzleloader. The big thing that the muzzleloaders have the advantage of is sometimes they have slightly better range. So you can shoot a little further with the muzzleloader. Now with some of the bows out there, I mean the smart bow technology like in the rain, I mean we have a lot of that long distance capability. We never promote taking long shots that are going to encounter an unethical situation. So you got to make sure that your comfort, the animals, your trajectory, everything is in the right situation for some of those longer shots with the bow. But again, you do have some extended range with some of the smart bow technology, because you can let an arrow fly truly perfect. You take the bow out of the equation with some of this tuning ability of the smart bow, and you can make that flawless long shot. So I really don't consider the distance that an archery hunter versus a muzzleloader can shoot, because a lot of times it's the same distance in the right situation. The biggest thing I'd say that the muzzleloader has an advantage of is taking a situation of an animal in the wrong stance. To where an archery hunter, we're looking for that broadside shot. We're looking for that slightly quartering away shot to make that good ethical shot with an arrow. As for a muzzleloader, a lot of times you can shoot an animal quartering to you, almost frontal. You can take a distant shot in a lot of different situations because you have just a little bit more hitting power and impact power with a slug or a bullet versus an arrow. So that's really the only big advantage. So I ask everybody, why do they tend to have maybe some more success? And this is really the truth of the matter. This is what I want to talk to all the archery hunters out there. So many of the muzzleloading success comes from the fact that a lot of muzzleloaders don't get heavily into calling. A lot of these muzzleloaders will do a cow call, do a bugle first thing in the morning, locate some animals, and then as these bulls are gathering their cows, as these bulls are pushing their cows to bed and from bed, pushing them to water. Obviously we hear bugling, we hear cow calling. So many times these muzzleloaders literally just walk into a herd. They walk up, they see animals, kind of moving around, and they walk up to where they have a presentable shot on this animal, and they take that shot. And that's a lot of times what leads to success in this type situation. So that's what I want to talk to you about. How many times as an archery hunter are we calling so much? Now, over the last month, you've been hearing us talk about calling. I know a lot of it is negative. I don't ever want to come across negative. I love calling. We called bulls in this weekend. We passed on a lot of the bulls. We do a lot of calling. But I see so many times in the wrong situation, in the wrong encounters, that calling can be a negative effect. So again, I just preach, take the calling in the right situation. It has to be the right situation. You have to do the right calling, and it's amazing. But with the opportunity of the muzzleloader, again, we talk about why these guys are successful, and we see so many times that these muzzleloaders literally hear animals and they walk up and they take the shot. Literally walking up and shooting the animal. That's what it comes down to. As the archery hunter, where a lot of times some of our failures come from is we do that same thing. We cow call, bugle, we locate the harem. We know where the bulls are at. We know where the cows are at. And as we approach, we start calling, because again, in a calling situation, you have to make that introduction. You never want to walk up to 50 yards and start calling. A lot of times those animals are going to booger up because they know they didn't hear anything before, and all of a sudden you startled them. So as an archery hunter, so many times we call as we get into the harem to keep them talking and try to call them in and pull those animals away. When a lot of times, all that's doing is telling these animals, hey, something's coming in, be on alert. So many times as an archery hunter, we come in on this harem, we're walking to them, and by the time we start getting close, we get to that 100 yards, we get to that 70 yards, we get to that magic 50 yards where a lot of us shoot at, and all of a sudden the cows are looking at you, wide-eyed. That bull's looking at you. They know that from afar, something is approaching. And I mean, like anything, you want to know what's coming in. What if it's a big dominant bull that's going to take your cows? What if it's a bunch of cows that's going to just overdo the herd? Again, whatever the case may be, whenever you're coming to these animals are on alert to see what's coming. Hey, maybe I'm just looking for my buddy. Hey, Fred, you coming in? Whatever the case may be. So many times these animals are on high alert as you approach with a call. As to where a lot of times the muzzleloader is not calling, they're walking in. So when he gets to these herds, a lot of times the muzzleloaders sometimes have that success because these animals are feeding. They're behaving natural. Nothing's alerted them that something's coming in. So a lot of times this bull is not on alert, he's working the harem. A lot of times these bulls will circle their cows, gathering them up, making sure that there's no strays, making sure nothing's wandering off. And a lot of times you can literally walk within that comfortable shooting distance, wait for that bull to come around the harem to gather the cows, do a soft cow call to stop that bull, and take that shot. Again, it's one of the major successes of a muzzleloader hunter is not putting these animals on alert and walking up and taking the shot. As to where, whatever reason, us as archery hunters tend to want to call the entire time, and a lot of times it's just a simple thing of putting these animals on alert that sometimes boogers us up, because as we approach, everything's watching, and we get hung up at that 100 yards, we get hung up at that 70 yards. We can't break that little bit of distance to make that comfortable shot. A lot of reason is because these animals are looking at us. So if you, the hunter, can make that decision early. Hey, I don't think today's a situation where this animal is going to come to the call. So since I don't think he's going to come to the call, once we have that animal located and he's 300 yards off, let's sneak up and make that approach and not call and try to walk up and make that success. So those are the type of things that I think would make you so much more successful. If the calling hasn't worked, if every time you make your approach on these animals, they're on high alert and you can't quite get into that comfortable shooting distance, next time you try that, try not calling. Maybe call from a long distance. These bulls always sound further than they usually are. That was actually a big question. We had 4 or 5 of those questions this week. Everybody says, how do you know how close they are? They're never as close as they are. A bull, if he's turning to bugle at you, he could be at 400 yards and it sounds like he is flat out on top of you. And if he turns his head this way, he sounds like he's, 1,000 yards away. So you have to kind of determine which way the bull is facing when he's communicating with you. A lot of times it might take 2 or 3 bugles from that animal to really pinpoint where he's at. But generally speaking, if you think they're 100, they're probably 200. If you think they're 400, they're probably 600 to 800. They're almost always slightly further than you think, just because their vocals are so loud. It echoes. They have got an amazing chamber for communicating back. Regardless, a lot of times I'm going to make that slight call. I'm going to make some noise from afar. Once I make a noise from afar and I hear them, I locate them, I have a rough idea where they are, pack away the calls and just walk up and try to make that shot. The other reason we're going to talk about why sometimes just walking in on an animal that's being vocal can be successful. Now, if your animal's not talking and it takes a call to keep that animal talking, it's going to be one of those calling situations, and that is going to be an encounter that calls are going to be necessary. If that animal is communicating enough to where you know where they're at, to where you can sneak up, the other big advantage of walking in on this animal and sneaking up on them is you generally have lots of shot opportunities. So you might have options where you set up, that bull's working around those cows, and a lot of times if it's not quite right, you can wait. Let them walk 20, 30 yards, and now you can sneak up. Let them walk 100 yards. Let them walk over a hill. Let them walk into the timber. Let them walk in or out of a meadow. And you can just keep sneaking up on them until the shot opportunity is right, until you have that perfect broadside shot, that perfect quartering away shot. As to where a situation where you're calling, you usually have one opportunity. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. In the calling situation, we're sitting here, we're calling, the bull comes in. Let's say he comes running in. That bull's always going to come to a point to where he says, okay, I should see the other bull. I should see the cows. So that bull's going to stop. It might be at 50 yards. It might be at 20 yards. It might be at 5 feet. But that bull at some point is going to stop and he's going to look around. And he's expecting to see cows. He's expecting to see another bull. In real life, two bulls would come together. When they start getting close, they're going to see each other, and they're going to know what that opportunity is. They're going to know that that's a live other animal. When you're calling to them, they're always going to get to that point to where they can see. Whether I'm standing on the edge of a meadow, standing with a good backdrop, I'm hiding behind a tree, whatever your situation is, at some point that bull's going to get close enough to where he says, I should physically see that other animal. At that point in time, you are either going to shoot that animal or pass on that animal. If you pass on that animal, all of a sudden that animal is now at a high alert stage. That animal is like, hey, something's happening, something's going on. I did not see that other cow. I don't know if it's a hunter. They don't really necessarily say that, that's another hunter. They don't really understand that. But they just know something is wrong. They know that there was an animal cow calling or bugling to them. They got close and that animal was not there. It was a ghost. If you think that there's a ghost in your house, you think there's a ghost following you, you're scared. You're on high alert. It's what it is. When these animals all of a sudden run into that ghost situation, they're going to turn around, gather their cows, and they're going to move on. The opportunity and really the overall odds of you getting back on that animal and getting a shot have dramatically went down. You probably lost 50 to 70% of the opportunity of getting on that animal on this morning or this afternoon. Maybe the next day, maybe the next hunt, you might have that opportunity to get back on that animal. But the general situation of getting right back on that animal is slim to none. So in a calling situation, you have that one chance. You stopped that animal in the herd, or you called that animal in and he came in. You had that chance. That's your one opportunity. You hope to make the most of it. Hopefully it presents the right shot. Hopefully you can get drawn without getting seen and you can make that shot. But again, a lot of times it's one opportunity. Once that animal goes back to the cows, back to the herd, he knows something was wrong. Again, they might not be boogered up. You didn't probably scare him, but you just put him on just enough alert where he's going to push that animal to bed and it's done for that particular hunt. So again, by not calling these animals, they're not on alert, you sneak up, that opportunity doesn't quite exist, just freeze, don't move. Let that animal kind of meander back down, get back to the herd, go to the next spot, sneak up again. A lot of times by sneaking up and having that quick opportunity, that silent opportunity, I should say, a lot of times you might have 6, 7 encounters in a morning, and more than likely one of those 6, 7 encounters is gonna lead to success. So again, think about those opportunities. Those are the smallest tips that I promise you over the last 17 years of elk hunting, especially elk hunting big bulls, has made more success for myself. So again, in the right calling situation, we're calling. But I want to encourage a couple times in the hunt over the next couple weeks for you or the next month, try to just sneak up on these animals and take that shot opportunity right there. Again, it's going to be absolutely huge for you because again, it's going to present different opportunities to actually make the physical shot on those animals. And a lot of times, making that slightly different shot is going to be success. Now guys, I want to talk about 2 more things here. I want to talk about shot placement, and I want to move here a little bit in the woods, and I actually want to talk about a calling set for the opportunities that when we do call. First thing I want to talk about is shot placement. Over the last 6 days, I would say, I've probably had about 15 people from around the country. From Colorado, I had a couple people from Wisconsin. I had Utah, I had Montana. I mean, I had calls from all over of people looking for wounded animals. Now, this is one of those topics that's like voodoo. Nobody talks about it. Everybody wounds an animal at some point in their life and you never talk about it. It's bad conservation. It's bad for everybody. It's, an anti-hunter. They love to thrive on those stories. Everybody avoids the topic. It happens. Bad shots are made. Whether it's a hunter that wasn't prepared, you weren't ready with that shot, and you just didn't have your bow tuned, you didn't have the right bullets, whatever. Something happened. And a lot of times you can be an amazing shot, an amazing hunter, and things just go wrong. Things happen in that type situation. I'm not going to talk about the situation. I encourage everybody, when you have a bad shot, do everything you physically can to try to recover that animal. Call everybody you know. Get a search party of 30 people zigzagging those woods. Do everything you can to give back to conservation and make sure you do the best at recovering that animal. But beyond that, I want to talk about the actual situation. The biggest thing I want to talk about, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when we talked about muzzleloaders and shot placement, but I really want everybody to understand their situation. So, archery hunters, you have different broadheads. Again, everybody knows I am all about a fixed head. I don't want anything to do with mechanical. Everything mechanical in life has failed me at some point or the other. I have had amazing vehicles. My Ford truck has never broken down on me. 100% honest. My F-350 Power Stroke has never let me down. But I promise you, over the next 5 years, I drive 60, 70,000 miles a year, chasing animals and fishing. Things happen. Mechanical things break down. It could definitely break down on me. Everything I've ever owned, a pencil, talk about a mechanical pencil, it's broken on me. Everything that you own that is somewhat mechanical a lot of times has failures. So that's why for me, whether it's ever failed me in the past or if it's going to fail me, if I can eliminate the mechanics, I feel that my odds go up. So I am all about that fixed head. But regardless of that, I want to talk about when the animal is standing in front of you. I'm an archery hunter. That bull's at 20 yards, 20 feet, whatever my capabilities and whatever my opportunity is. As I'm drawing back on that animal, I always think about my situation. I think about the trajectory of that arrow. I think about the head that I have on that arrow. I think about exactly if my shot goes accordingly, where is that arrow going to make impact on that animal? And that's the thought process that happens in that split second before I touch that release and let that arrow fly. I want to ask myself, that bull's standing there, it's broadside, I'm drawn back. In case I have some failure, instead of shooting right in that crease, I'm going to pull back just a little bit. I'm going to shoot 3 inches behind the shoulder. That way, even if I'm nervous and I have a bad release, even if my arrow is 2-3 inches off, I'm not going to hit that shoulder blade and shoulder blade that animal. I know I'm still going to get double lung. So I think about that opportunity, but I always think about, where's the ribs? Am I going to square up with the rib? If I square up with the rib at the distance at which I'm at, am I going to have enough power to break through that rib, keep a straight arrow path, and double lung that arrow? Or double lung that animal. At 20 yards, 40 yards, 60 yards, absolutely. I know that my range 7 will hit a square perfect rib cage, at 60, 70 yards, and I have more than enough kinetic energy to blow right through that. But again, those are the things I think about. I look at all of a sudden, hey, I have the bull of my dreams at 10 yards, and I'm looking at a frontal shot. Can I pull that arrow just off a center and put it 2 inches to the side of that center cage to where all of a sudden on that front rib cage where everything comes together at that chest, all of a sudden I have thicker bones where basically both sides weave together. That center 2 inches a lot of times is the thickest, hardest bone to penetrate through. So I pull over just an inch or two to where I get into that softer bone to where I can break through that. Again, I think about everything. I think, hey, does my head, my energy level of my arrow at this distance, am I going to get penetration? And what am I going to penetrate? Everybody shoots the front and they say, hey, I want to get it into the boiler room. I love the opportunity of a boiler room. What's a boiler room? A heart on an elk is about this big. A heart on a deer is slightly smaller. The lungs on an elk are like 11 by 17. When I literally am looking at my sight, when I'm looking down that arrow and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to let this arrow fly, what exactly is happening? Which organs am I going to hit? How deeply am I going to penetrate into those organs? I literally take it 10 steps further than the average person to make sure that my opportunity is maxed out and to make sure that that animal is on the ground. I think the last 9 animals that I've harvested with my bow have not left my sight. That's the opportunity that I'm looking for. I don't ever want to see an animal run off again. So again, talking about leaving my sight, I would say that almost all those animals have perspired in 40 yards or less, maybe 70 yards in most situations. But that's going to be the most of it. Literally, I have watched my last 9 animals fall over, physically watch them hit the ground. And that's what the reason for that is because I think everything through. So all of a sudden you come into the muzzleloaders. Hey, am I shooting a soft bullet like we talked about? There's a lot of manufacturers creating a soft bullet. There's a great reason. These soft bullets fly amazing and they are a deadly bullet. The biggest reason is think about your load. How much powder do you have? What's the density of that bullet? Is that bullet going to expand? Can I take a shoulder shot or do I have to stick to double lungs? Can I take a frontal shot again or do I have to pull back to double lungs? So many people don't think about the small opportunity. They think that, hey, I know that I'm going to hit in this place, and I know that behind that place, there's organs. I don't know which organ, but I know there's organs. They take the shot, and a lot of times you lead to an unsuccessful hunt or finding the animal a week later. So what I encourage everybody to think about is think about the exact situation. In that last moment, right before I level that bubble and let that arrow fly, I'm thinking to myself, what exactly is going to happen? If that arrow hits exactly where I'm at, if that bullet hits exactly where I want it to, is it going to get the job done? So again, think about those things, guys. I promise you, it takes a half a second before you take the trigger or pull that trigger, but it's generally speaking going to lead to much more success because all of a sudden, I've been in those situations, I'm in full draw, I'm about to let it fly, and I say, man, you know, at that range, if I hit that rib just right, you know, it's quartering away, and if I hit that rib just right, so if I hit the back half of a rib, so the animal's facing this way, and I basically have a rib bone like this, if I come in and hit that rib bone, if I don't have enough energy to push through it, what if I glance? So all of a sudden I'm going to hit that, my arrow's going to literally slide. A lot of times it'll even snap your arrow off, but it's going to throw your broadhead back to where if I had a total pass-through at the angle I'm looking, I'd have a double lung shot. But all of a sudden I hit that one strong rib and my broadhead just slides on the inside of it. And again, I don't care, you know, what kind of broadhead you're shooting. A lot of times you hit that rib just right, it'll slide. If that slides, all of a sudden I have a liver shot. Am I going to have a liver shot, or am I straight guts? Again, there's so many things to think about, but I tell you how many times I've been in full draw and I've said, you know what? That might hit a rib. I'm going to hold off. And I wait another minute and let him turn, or I let down, and I let him come back to the right situation, and I take that ethical shot. So many of us let our nerves get the best of us. They get our excitement getting the best of us. Hey, we've waited, you know, the last 9.5 months for this opportunity. We've waited 11 months, or we've waited whatever. We waited a week. But so many of us are so excited, and we let that excitement get the best of us, and we take that shot that shouldn't quite be taken. So again, think about all those situations. Now, guys, we're going to jump over here. We can actually even talk about it right behind us, but we're going to talk about the calling opportunity. In the situation of calling, the big steps that you always want to think about is you want to make sure that you're never trying to pull an animal into an area that they're not comfortable in. So again, I see so many opportunities to where you have a meadow, this opening right here. Can we see that opening, Devin? Perfect. All right, Devin's behind the camera. So we have this big meadow behind us. We'll do it right here. Let's say that I'm right here and I have a bull on the opposite side. Almost every hunter I see is going to set up right here with the backdrop behind them. They got cover right here. You might hide behind a small tree. You might stand in front of the tree. That's a trick question. You always stand in front of the structure. So when I'm sitting in a situation, I always want a backdrop behind me to break me up in my camo. You know, again, I'm wearing the mossy oak camo. We're all set. I have a good tree behind me, but I'm in front. So in this situation, I would stand right in front of that little tree right here. Stand in front of this tree right here. But this is kind of a tricky situation because, again, most of us do this. We stand in front of the structure, we have that nice shooting lane ahead of us, and we start calling. The problem is the bull is going to walk up to that side of the meadow at 40 yards. He's going to stand behind those trees, and he's going to look, and he's not going to see anything. Does he see cows? No. Does he see other bulls? No. So all of a sudden that bull goes, man, I can see pretty good. I know the call's coming, or that noise is coming from right there. I don't see anything. They come in, you have that close encounter, and he turns and he goes back up to those cows. It happens in almost every situation out there. What you, the hunter, are trying to do is you're trying to pull a bull out into the opening. You know what an opening is to an elk? It's danger. At no point do they want to be exposed. At no point do they want to be vulnerable. And by trying to pull that animal out into the wide open, all of a sudden you're making that animal come into an unsafe situation for itself, and more than likely that animal is going to make the right decision and not come in. Now a satellite bull, young, 3.5 years old, on a big harem, that bull can probably come screaming right across, because again, that they don't feel that anxiety. They don't know any better. They hear cows, they got the big boss behind them, like, I'm safe, let's go run over there and see what it is. That bull that's had some education, that lead cow, those are probably the worst. You get that cow that's got that education and they say, man, it's not safe to walk across that situation. So right here, this is my calling set. I'm the hunter. I have a bull, you know, 200 yards off. I'm calling to that bull. I know he's there and I want to have that call experience. I want to work that bull in. In this situation, I would go right across the meadow and I would set up in the thicker stuff on the opposite side. I would still have myself some shooting lanes, but I want to make sure that that bull can come 100% of the way to me and still stay in some sort of cover. That cover is going to give that animal some security, and that security is going to allow him to get closer to me. And that's what we want. So again, instead of making yourself sit in a meadow where you know you're going to push yourself to that longest shot possible, get into some thicker stuff where they feel comfortable, and hopefully you're going to have that 40-yard shot, that 30-yard shot. A lot of times that's what leads to that 10-foot shot. So again, instead of hunting the meadow and trying to pull that bull out into that opening, go to the opposite side. Get where there's some cover. Again, make sure you still have shot opportunity. I don't want you sitting in the middle of the jungle, but get to where you have an opportunity if you have some open country around you. You have some 2 or 3 good shooting lanes. And at that point in time when you want to call that bull in, that bull is going to see the meadow behind you. He's going to maybe as I'm sitting on that side of the meadow, I'll throw my cow calls this way. So I'm looking this way, but I'm cow calling down in the meadow. That bull might say, oh man, they're probably in that meadow. He's going to come trotting in. He's going to slow down 20 yards on the opposite side of the meadow to start investigating, but I'll tell you what, You're on the opposite side of that meadow, so now all of a sudden the bull's 20 yards from you, and you can make that shot. So again, all those opportunities. That's the main goal of tonight's show. Those are things that we've been talking about. Number one, you know, make sure you know all those shot opportunities, again, for the shot placement. Think about where that arrow or that bullet's going to go. Make sure you can put that animal on the ground. Think about the opportunities of calling to these animals in the situation of making it easy on them. Make it comfortable for them. It's all about the animal. It's not about you. It's not about what we want. It's about what the animal wants. So make sure you think about that situation. Make it easy on them. Allow the animal to come all the way in cover to get to your call and make that shot on that animal. Never make them come exposed. Never make them walk through a big opening. Because again, most of these smarter animals will not do so. And lastly, but certainly not least, I want to talk to you guys again about what we talked about. Think about the opportunity of trying to sneak up and harvest these animals. Call from a distance, get them to talk back. Once they're talking, think about literally just walking up, trying to get in the middle of that harem and take the shot in that opportunity. So instead of calling and having that whole interaction, having a one-shot opportunity, think about sneaking in, becoming one of the elk, and have a lot of opportunity for that perfect shot and that perfect shot placement. So guys, again, that's the main topic for tonight. I apologize that I am not live. I still want you to comment. So through this whole process, comment with us here. I will definitely get to these comments when I get out of the woods tonight. Hopefully, literally as you are watching this 8 o'clock, hopefully in the last couple minutes, I have a bull on the ground. So I'll be in the field while you guys are watching this. But again, make sure you still send your comments. I will get to all these comments. I will respond back to everybody watching this. And again, our big news here also tonight, we are moving the show from Monday evenings to Tuesday evenings. So the show from now on will be 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. For everybody here in the Rockies region, it'll be 8 p.m. So again, the show will be moving from Monday to Tuesday. So put that on your calendar. Make sure you jot that down because again, we have got so much hunts, information, education coming to you. So again, make sure you write it down. From this point on, our show will be moving from Monday to Tuesday. So write that down. We hope to join you every Tuesday evening, guys. And again, thank you so much for watching this feed. I am Nate Zelinsky coming to you live from Bowtech.